So Batman fights against Two-Face and Riddler. He falls in love with Dr. Chase Meridian, and Dick Grayson becomes Batman's sidekick, Robin. Batman Returns was a success with favourable reviews from critics. However, the movie was depicted as too dark and violent for children. That caused McDonald's to recall their Happy Meal tie-in, and Warner Brothers didn't want Tim Burton returning as the director. Plus, Tim wasn't sure about directing the third movie either, but he stayed on as the executive producer. In June 1993, Warner Brothers chose Joel Schumacher as the director during the filming of The Client, and Tim proved the idea. Lee and Janet Scott's Bachelor were hired to write the script. Apparently, Warner Brothers lost a war for their spec script for an earlier project called Smoke and Mirrors to Disney's Hollywood Pictures. The project fell through, and Warner Brothers offered the Bachelors to write as they're familiar with the Batman comics. During childhood, Bachelors chose to work on the next Batman film as their project. When they met Tim Burton, they agreed that key element of Batman is in duality, and it's not just that Batman is Bruce Wayne. In the original script, Riddler is the villain with his real name, Lyle Hackendorf, instead of Edward Nygma, with a pet rat accompanying him. A scene cut from the final film included Hackendorf obtaining his costume from a fortune-telling leprechaun at the circus. Instead of Nigmatech, the company would have been called Hectech. The story elements and much of the dialogue still remained in the finished film. However, Joel Schumacher felt it could be lightened down. Michael Keaton approved Joel as the director and was originally to return as Batman. Schumacher claims he originally had in mind an adapted Batman Year One comic by Frank Miller, so Michael Keaton enthusiastic about the idea, but Warner Brothers disagreed as they wanted a sequel, not a prequel. Plus, Joel Schumacher was able to include very brief events in Bruce Wayne's childhood with some events of the Dark Knight Returns comic. Akiva Goldsman, who works with Joel Schumacher on The Client, was brought in to rewrite the script, got rid of the idea of bringing in the Scarecrow as a villain with the Riddler and the return of the Catwoman, but of course Tim Burton wanted to direct Ed Wood movie. Later reflected he was taken aback by some of the focus group meetings for Batman Forever, which he hated the title. So Peter McGregor Scott, the producer, represented the studio aim in making a film for the MTV generation with full merchandising appeal. Some say if Tim Burton alternatively directed Batman 3, and if Michael Keaton reprised the role alongside Michael Gough and Pat Hingle, the Riddler would have been played by Robin Williams. Billy D. Williams would have returned as Harvey Dent to become Two-Face. Dr. Chase Meridian would have been played by Rene Russo, and Dick Grayson, aka Robin, would have been played by Marlon Wayans, which is the version of Batman Forever that a lot of fans would have wanted. But with the change of director, there are changes of casting.
I'm both Bruce Wayne and Batman. Not because I have to be. Now, because I choose to be.
Bruce Wayne, aka Batman in this movie, is played by Val Kilmer, a very good actor. Michael Keaton didn't like the direction, so he chose not to return. Warner Brothers wanted to cast younger Bruce Wayne, so Ethan Hawke was considered for the role, but he turned it down, which he later regretted. But he voiced the character in Batwheels.
Would you mind answering a few questions?
I'm afraid I don't really...
Joel Schumacher was interested in casting Keanu Reeves, who later voiced Batman in DC League of Super Pets.
Not so fast. Lois Lane told us all about you, hamster.
Alec Baldwin was considered for the role. William Baldwin, Dean Cain, Tom Hanks, Kurt Russell, and Daniel Day-Lewis were also considered for the role. Dean Cain was scrapped because he was well known for Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman TV show. Tim Burton pushed Johnny Depp to get the role, so Schumacher saw Val Kilmer in Tombstone.
You retired too?
Not me. I'm in my prime.
Val visited the studios where Adam West's Batman TV show was filmed as a kid, and shortly before had visited a bat cave in Africa and was contacted by his agent for the part. So Val accepted the role without reading the script, for knowing who the director was. And it was really moving where Val Kilmer, in the video, puts his Batman mask on, not long before he unfortunately passed away. Michael Gough and Pat Hingle returned as Alfred Pennyworth and Commissioner Jim Gordon. Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face, used to work in the Good District Attorney of Gotham City. Other half of his face screwed up, his brain was messed up by acid burn, which resulted him became a crime boss. And Billy D. Williams, who played the character in the first movie, was set to reprise the role, but he was replaced by Tommy Lee Jones instead. after working on The Client. Tommy wasn't sure about the role at first, but his son insisted him to accept it. Al Pacino, Clint Eastwood, Martin Sheen, and Robert De Niro were considered for the role. Nicole Kidman plays Dr. Chase Meridian, who's a psychologist, Bruce Wayne's love interest, and she's fascinated by Batman. When Val Kilmer was casted, Rennie Russo had to be dropped as she was too young for Val Kilmer. So Sandra Bullock, Robin Wright, Jean Triplehorn, and Linda Hamilton were considered for the role, so the part eventually went to Nicole Kidman. Jim Carrey plays Edward Nygma, aka the Riddler. He used to work in the Wayne Enterprises, and because his experiment was rejected by Bruce Wayne, Nygma turns into a villain, the Riddler, who spread riddles in the crime scene.
What is that? Where's that coming from? There!
Who the hell's doing that?
The Riddler.
Watching him was really entertaining.
Caffeine will kill ya!
Robin Williams and John Malkovich were in a competition for the role. Robert Williams turned down the role. Michael Jackson fought hard to get the part, but was turned down. Brad Dourif, who was Tim Burton's original choice to play the Joker, and Scarecrow was considered for the role. Kelsey Grammer, Michael Dolenz, Matthew Broderick, Phil Hartman, and Steve Martin were also considered. In June 1994, Jim Carrey got the part. Chris O'Donnell played Richard Dick Grayson, aka Robin, who was a circus acrobat. When Two-Face murdered his family, Bruce Wayne took him in, who eventually discovers Batcave and became Batman's sidekick, Robin.
R. What's that stand for?
Robin.
A partner.
Who was originally to have a cameo in Batman Returns, but was removed due to having too many characters. Marlon Wayans was casted, but when Schumacher took over, he wanted to cast someone else. Leonardo DiCaprio turned down the role after meeting Joel Schumacher. So Corey Haim, Corey Feldman, Mark Wahlberg, Michael Worth, Toby Stevens, Ewan McGregor, Jude Law, and Alan Cumming were considered for the role. Matt Damon, Scott Speedman, and Danny Dyer auditioned for the role. Oi, Two-Face, you fucking muppet! So you're the Riddler, ain't ya? So in the end, Chris O'Donnell was casted, plus he had his eye painted black and then the Robin mask glued on him. George Wallace plays the mayor of Gotham City. Drew Barrymore and Debbie Mazur played Sugar and Spice, the Two-Face assistants. Ed Begley Jr. plays Frank Stickley, Nygma's supervisor at Wayne Enterprises, who's short-tempered. Elizabeth Sanders, who was married to Bob Kane, plays Gertie, Gotham's top gossip columnist, who I can tell is having so much fun in this movie.
Gotham must know! Oh, there's Bruce Wayne! Brucey!
Renee Auberjonois plays Dr. Burton, head doctor of Arkham Asylum. Larry Ailey plays John Grayson, who's the head of Flying Graysons and the father of Dick Grayson. Glory Fiomonti plays Mary Grayson, Dick Grayson's mother. There was use of some motion capture for certain visual effects. Warner Brothers had acquired motion capture technology from arcade video game company Acclaim Entertainment for use in the movie production. Rick Baker designed the prosthetic makeup. John Dykstra, Andrew Adamson, and Jim Riggio worked as visual effects supervisors, with Pacific Data Images also contributing to visual effects work. PDI provided a CG Batman for hard stunts.
A computer image so real, audiences believed he really was the Caped Crusader.
Peter McGregor Scott said that 146 workers were at one point working together to design a costume. The redesign of Batsuit, as well as the lines of the more MTV organic and edgier feel to the suit. Bruce Stambler and John Levesque supervised sound editing and mixing, including trips to caves to record bat sounds. The redesign of Batmobile has two cars being constructed, one for stunt purposes and one for close-ups. And of course Danny Elfman left, so Joel Schumacher hired Elliot Goldenthal for the music before writing the movie, and wanting him to avoid inspiration from Elfman's score. But it was used in the trailer, however.
Going down.
If the Bat wants to play, we'll play.
Batman. Forever.
I'm not gonna lie, I did like Goldenthal's music score.
Hot entrance.
Can I persuade you to take a sandwich with you, sir?
I'll get drive-through.
The McDonald's tie-in, this movie ends up getting a pass for Happy Meals now that they made a PG Batman movie, unlike the previous movie.
McDonald's Superhero Burger. Tomatoes, crisp lettuce, the great taste of 2 cheeses melted over 3 beef patties on a superhero bun. It's McDonald's Taste of the Month everyone's making a break for.
Welcome to McDonald's. May I take your order?
I find it entertaining watching Edward Nygma's experiment testing. All 3 green insane performances from Jim Carrey, you can never get bored of it. I thought that thing on his head looks a bit like a popcorn machine. And that dance he makes. Fred! This resulted in Nygma becoming Riddler and pay Two-Face a visit and planning to kill Batman.
I simply love what you've done with this place. Heavy metal meets house and garden.
What kills me is that he used his machine on the sugar and spice mines watching Looney Tunes, also owned by Warner Brothers. And also the lines.
Has anybody ever told you you have a serious impulse control problem?
Jim and Tommy were so funny together. It's a pity that they didn't get along very well, particularly filming this movie.
This is my brain on the box. Does anybody else feel like a fried egg?
I'll have a bit more, thank you.
I like how Riddler responded to Batman's entrance.
Your entrance was good, his was better.
The iconic scene is Val Kilmer's Batman smile. Jim must have had fun filming the Batcave scene. I gotta be honest, when some people say that Jim Carrey should play the Joker, I wasn't sure about it at first, until that scene. That's where I thought, actually, I take it back, I think he'll be really good as the Joker.
Judges?
I'm sorry, your answer must be in the form of a question, but thank you for playing.
It was an interesting idea that Riddler traps Chase and Robin just for the game of riddles for Batman. After when Two-Face falls to his death because he doesn't feel right without his coin, Riddler ends up thinking he's Batman.
I'm Batman.
I like the idea of silhouette of Batman and Robin running towards us with the bat signal at the background. It's so nostalgic. There's some good songs used in the end credits. So during the movie release, there was toys being made from Kenner as well as McDonald's.
And when Batman soars in the Turbo Batwing, evil is spattered with an explosive surprise. It's Batman forever. Figures and vehicles each sold separately.
There's also separate novelizations of the film by Peter David and Alan Grant, not the Jurassic Park Alan Grant. Comics written by Dennis O'Neil and drawn by Mitchell Dudkovich was also released. There's theme parks resembling the movie, the game for Super Nintendo Entertainment System, Game Boy, Sega Genesis, Game Gear, R-Zone, and MS-DOS. Based on the movie came out the same year, 1995. In terms of Batman Forever, I thought the movie has got hilarious and entertaining stuff. The reviews were mixed to negative due to the tone, writing, and the casting were divisive. Sadly, Val Kilmer and Joel Schumacher didn't get along very well. The movie has a lot of editing changes, originally darker and almost 2 hours and 40 minutes, but Joel Schumacher said there was talks of an extended cut being released to DVD for the film's 10th anniversary in 2005. So while Batman Begins came out the same day as the 4 Batman films were given special edition DVD releases, not one of them were given extended cuts, as of time recording. However, there are deleted scenes added in the special features. Many audiences were wanting the director's cut. There are some deleted scenes shown in the music videos. On 22nd of June 2020, Joel Schumacher sadly passed away, and there was reports of possibility of extended cuts. In April 2021, Akiva Goldsman said in YouTube that she saw the original cut of the film, called Preview Cut 1, and that he expects a rebirth coming up, suggesting all the footage needed to make the Schumacher cut still exists, and that the release of a director's cut might be possible. In July 2023, after Kevin Smith worked on the workprint version, Goldsman confirmed that the original cut is there, and even though Warner Brothers have no plans to bring it out, he was hopeful for a possible distribution in the future. Some of the aforementioned deleted scenes make up a portion of this footage. Batman 89 continues the events of Tim Burton's version, which ignores the events of Schumacher's version, including using Billy D. Williams' likeness for Two-Face, as well as different version of Robin and Barbara Gordon, and the return of Catwoman, which released on 10th of August 2021, so it confirms that Schumacher's universe is an alternative timeline. So the movie was a box office success, and it leads to the 4th movie, with George Clooney replacing Val Kilmer as the title role, Batman and Robin.